Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Jack Rhodes talking to you again. Today we're going to start a little mini-series of mysteries. I know people sometimes have said, I thought you had themes like railroads and all, but nowadays I've been doing this for easy memory grouping and binge watching later into the individual genres. We've already talked in previous talks about a genre. You can revisit that or check with your neighbor. This time we're visiting the mystery genre, which has its own conventions. You have to play fair with the reader or viewer. The answer to the problem or riddle of the mystery must be apparent at all times at the beginning, so you don't mess up the reader. As S.S. Van Dyne, the great novelist, said, you don't mess up the reader by playing tricks on him. For example, he said, if you have a mystery and there are 5 suspects, you cannot have an unknown 6th person wander in at the last minute and prove to be the guilty party. You cannot have some unknown clue the audience didn't know about, like having the person be left-handed but is a right-handed killer, and exonerate somebody because that's bogus. That doesn't give you a fair chance. You weren't given that information. In all of these, you will be given the information and they will follow suit pretty well. We've had our comedies, but we can still have fun with mysteries. And we're going to do 3 of them this month. The first one, And Then There Were None, is a classic mystery of the old order from 1945, right at the end of the war. The second one after that is, I want to be sure what order I'm doing them in, Sherlock Holmes and the Secret Weapon. And when you hear the name Sherlock Holmes, you know right away we have a short feature film which is going to be all about Sherlock Holmes, Dr. Watson, and the great detective solving the puzzle that Inspector Lestrade of Scotland Yard has no hope of solving. And then when we get down to the third one of those mysteries, and we're dealing with The Spiral Staircase, it is a movie I've shown here before several years ago with Dorothy McGuire, directed by the great Robert Siodmak. And more about that one when we get there. Today our focus is on this movie that we want to show you, And Then There Were None. This is good because it's by the mystery writer Agatha Christie, and she never missed. First it was called a couple other things, and then they decided on And Then There Were None. It takes place at a creepy old house, of course, but on a little different. It's on an isolated island. 10 guests have been invited, 10 little Indians, you might say. One of the obsolete and discredited titles. Christie herself changed it soon after to And Then There Were None. And so what happens is 10 people, all strangers to each other, are brought to a guide boat over to a rocky crag off the coast of England. It is a British movie, filmed in the US, but nevertheless, every character actor in English descent in Hollywood was rounded up to play in it so it would look authentic. Okay. These folks don't know each other. They're all there on this island, and their guest, Mr. and Mrs. U.N. Owen, are not appearing. They said they'd be late for dinner and would come by a later boat. They never show until finally the head man, you might say, the judge, asked the butler, who's one of the 2 servants, 10 people and 2 servants, exactly, 10 people and 2 people servants. So what happens is that he says, well, I've never met Mr. Owen before, sir. He hired us for this occasion, and he hired my wife as maid and me as butler. We've never met him. All we have is a recording. Of course, we had no digital or DVD in those days, 1945, so he produces a Victrola and a record that says, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You have been invited here tonight by your unknown host, Mr. U.N. Owen. I notice you may not have tumbled to the clue. U.N. Owen is an anagram of unknown. You're the guest of an unknown host. Why are you here? Because each of the 10 of you has in his past committed unspeakable crimes that rise above the level of misdemeanors' forgiveness. Murder, deliberate malice, letting a student go out of class and destroying her life even though she should have had an A grade. You insisted on an F because of jealousy. And then he proceeds to say, and you, Judge so-and-so, Do you not remember the case of... No, I don't. You condemned an innocent man, even though a guilty man. You condemned an innocent man by claiming him guilty at the bench, even though you knew his wife and you knew he was innocent and you knew his alibi and never recused yourself from the case. You will die on this island. What a premise, right? We're on an island, Agatha Christie's fertile brain. Character wasn't as important as plot. But one of the most important things about any movie is a tale worth telling. Another, how is it handled? Craftsmanship, sense of style. Are the characters real? Most of the time you can't have real characters in mystery novels. They're just there for the plot. And Christie's admittedly more interested in plot than in characterization. But boy, she reaches it here. We know everyone as they fear to die. We know the doctor who's polluted and mishandled an operation years ago. All of their innermost, worst secrets they could hardly get out if they went to confession. All of these terrible things have come to the fore. Now what do? They're embarrassed before the others. They don't know whom to trust. They go to their rooms. So characterization. Secondly, craftsmanship. The beautiful way in which this is directed by the French director René Clair earned this a lot of nominations along the way, and especially earned lots of awards from the cinematographic artists and the others who were so interested in directing, the Directors Guild, that he was well known for years in America, as well as his French movies like The River and other famous French movies that are wonderful in their own right. Here he uses black and white to show the contrast between shadows and light and black and white and truth and evil and darkness and greed and light and envy, and on it goes and on it goes. It's also done with, believe it or not, a light, humorous touch. People dying all over the battlefield, but in appropriate methods, which is great. And lastly, the story. Wow, what a tale. 4 stars from Malton. Top of the list of mysteries for almost anybody interested in American-made, British-set mysteries. And Then There Were None tells the story of 6 little Indians sitting in a line. You know how it goes. 4 little Indians sitting in a row. 2 little Indian boys. 1 little Indian left all alone, etc. Who will it be? And then there were none. Chilling, effective, no real happy ending. All aboard for lots of chills, and then there were none. 1945.